coast to coast. What matters, when it matters. This is today's talk. Your world, your news, right now.
Welcome to the Deep Dive. We're here to cut through the noise of the daily news cycle for you.
Yeah, it can be a lot, right? So we sift through it all, pull out what's actually important, what you need to know.
Exactly. We're aiming for clarity, give you the essentials without, all the overwhelm. Today, we're looking at quite a mix. Big changes in global leadership, ongoing trade stuff, some tricky peace talks.
Right. We've got reports from various places trying to give that balanced picture of what's happening right now. Think of it like your informed cheat sheet for the day.
Okay, let's jump in. First up, a really major story.
Yeah.
The death of Pope Francis. He passed away at 88.
Yeah, huge news. A really significant moment, obviously, for the Catholic Church, but also, globally.
And what really stood out about his time as Pope, as lots of reports are saying, was his effort to make the church more inclusive, focusing on the marginalized.
Definitely. That was a clear shift in direction, or at least emphasis, for such a traditional institution. It really makes you think about where the church goes from here.
It does. And he was the first pope from Latin America, which surely brought a different viewpoint to the Vatican.
No doubt. We also heard his death was caused by a stroke. And reflecting his style, I guess, he asked for a simple tomb in Rome.
It's those little details that often say a lot, don't they?
They really do. And apparently, even right near the end, he was still receiving visitors.
Yeah.
Still working. Shows a real dedication.
Quite a commitment. And another related note, the Vatican officially recognized the victims of the Sri Lanka Easter bombings as heroes of faith.
Mm-hmm. A very powerful gesture, acknowledging their sacrifice.
Mm-hmm.
Ties into that global reach of faith, I suppose.
Yeah, so his legacy, it'll be interesting to watch how that's seen in the years ahead, trying to bridge those gaps within, such a deeply rooted institution.
Absolutely. Okay, shifting gears a bit. Let's talk economics, specifically the U.S.-China trade relationship. Still tense.
Seems like it. China's put out a pretty strong warning recently.
Telling other countries, basically, don't try and get special treatment from the U.S. on tariffs by siding with them.
What was the wording? Selfish and short-sighted. And they mentioned retaliation, too.
Exactly. That's pretty direct language, not just diplomatic niceties. It shows they're digging in their heels on this.
And this is happening just as Vice President Vance is visiting India. There were some hopes, maybe, for a U.S.-India trade deal.
Right. Reports suggest India is keen to just kind of wish away these tariff problems that have been lingering, especially those Trump-era ones that are paused.
But China's warning adds a complication, doesn't it? Telling nations not to appease the U.S.
It does. It puts countries like India in a tricky position. Highlights that balancing act nations have to perform in global trade these days. It's complex.
Okay, let's move to the Middle East. The Israel-Gaza conflict. We're seeing some, contrasting signals, maybe.
Definitely seems that way. You've got the Israeli finance minister saying that getting the hostages back isn't the single most important goal right now.
Right. He said the priority is making sure Hamas can't govern Gaza anymore.
Which suggests, potentially, a hardening of priorities within the Israeli government. Maybe focusing on longer-term security aims, even with the hostage crisis ongoing.
But then almost at the same time, we're hearing reports about a new ceasefire plan. Egypt and Qatar are mediating.
A Hamas source told the BBC, apparently, that this plan could involve a truce lasting up to 7 years, maybe even leading to a permanent end to the fighting.
Wow, so quite a contrast there. An official downplaying hostage release agency while there's talk of a potential long-term peace plan.
It really shows just how many different layers there are to this conflict. Different pressures, different potential paths being explored. It's a lot.
And adding another layer, there was an internal IDF inquiry, found professional failures led to the deaths of some Gaza medics and a UN worker.
Yeah, that's a stark reminder of the human cost, and obviously raises questions about accountability on the ground. Tragic.
Indeed. And then domestically within Israel, the security chief has accused Prime Minister Netanyahu of asking him to spy on anti-government protesters. Improper requests, he called them.
So you've got internal political friction bubbling up as well. That adds another dimension to the whole situation.
Okay, let's cover a few other global hotspots and incidents briefly. Over in Thailand, an executive linked to that Bangkok tower collapse has been arrested.
Right, and that's putting the spotlight on the Chinese state-owned construction company involved too. Questions about standards and oversight.
Yeah, could have wider implications for sure. And terribly sad news from South Korea. A deadly fire in a tall apartment building in Seoul. Police are searching for an arson suspect.
Oh, awful. Just highlights the dangers in dense urban areas.
Then in Eastern Europe, that Easter truce didn't seem to last long at all.
No. Ukraine accused Russia of breaking it with shelling and drones. Russia fired back with similar accusations against Ukraine.
Just underscores how fragile any pause in that conflict is, unfortunately. The mistrust runs so deep.
It really does. Makes achieving any lasting de-escalation incredibly difficult.
And on a different note, kind of a somber cultural heritage point reports say more evidence of conflict, rubble, and damage has been found in the ancient Syrian city of Palmyra.
Ah, yes. It's just heartbreaking to see the continued impact of the conflict on such historically vital sites. A long road to recovery there, if ever.
Finally, for this global roundup, a worrying statistic from Australia. The weekend drowning toll rose to 7. Strong ocean swells seem to be the main cause.
Gosh, that's terrible. A real reminder to be cautious around the water, even familiar coastlines. The ocean's powerful.
Absolutely. Okay, let's bring it back to the U.S. now. Domestic and economic news. Former President Trump has really ramped up his attacks on the Fed chair, Jerome Powell.
Yeah, he called him a major loser, apparently, for not cutting interest rates faster or further.
And interestingly, maybe coincidentally, maybe not, U.S. stocks and the dollar took a bit of a dive around the same time.
Well, that kind of public criticism of the Fed chair by a former president is pretty unusual. It can definitely add to market jitters, The timing is noticeable.
Also on the economic front, the FTC, the Federal Trade Commission, is suing Uber.
Oh, what's that about?
It's about their Uber One subscription service. The FTC alleges Uber signed people up or charged them without proper authorization.
Ah, okay. So more scrutiny on those subscription models, making sure people actually consented clearly to the charges. That's a recurring theme.
Seems like it. And politically, reports say Trump is backing his defense secretary after another leak of some Signal chat messages.
Yeah.
These involved the secretary's family and lawyer.
Right. So a public show of support there.
Okay.
Though the content of those leaks, who knows what the fallout might be down the line.
Always more to the story. Lastly, a kind of unusual diplomatic item. El Salvador has apparently proposed a prisoner swap with Venezuela.
The prisoner swap. How so?
They're offering to take Venezuelans who've been deported from the U.S. in exchange for Venezuela releasing political prisoners it's holding.
Wow. Okay, that's complex. Involves multiple countries, deportees, political prisoners, raises a whole lot of legal and ethical questions. Definitely an unexpected move.
Yeah, really something different. So that brings us to the end of our rundown for today. As you can tell, a lot happening. A pretty complicated picture globally.
Absolutely. From leadership changes like with the Pope, to those deep-seated conflicts, economic pressures. It's all interconnected, isn't it?
It really is. Hopefully this deep dive gives everyone listening a bit of better handle on these key events, maybe spark some further thought.
Which leads us to our final thought for you, the listener. Considering everything we've touched on, the reaction to Pope Francis's passing, the ongoing tensions in places like Ukraine and Gaza, the trade disputes, what do you think is the single biggest challenge facing international relations right now? Something to ponder.